Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So at PMQs today, Kemi Badenoch used all 6 questions to ask if Peter Mandelson should really be the UK ambassador to the US, given his past association with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, although I could identify ways in which perhaps Starmer could have turned the tables on Badenoch, was it wise for her to spend all 6 questions on the subject? I mean, if it results in massive pressure to replace Mandelson, she can claim victory, I guess. But even then, what would she win? And if it results in nothing, is she in danger of looking like she couldn't actually think of anything to ask about? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified.
A NATO country has just had to defend itself against Russian drones. Now, more than ever, we need our ambassador to Washington fully focused on this issue and liaising closely with America. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in Peter Mandelson?
Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying the victims of Epstein are the forefront of our minds. He was a despicable criminal who committed the most heinous crimes and destroyed the lives of so many women and girls. The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
So that Kemi Badenoch asked about Peter Mandelson's suitability for the role of ambassador, it's not in itself a shock. The Jeffrey Epstein thing is getting quite heated. It's getting quite newsworthy. Obviously, if you think you've got a stick to beat Labour with, use it. He's not a particularly popular guy in Labour. Eyebrows were raised when he was appointed. Also, why not leverage the Jeffrey Epstein scandal if you think there's political points to be scored, right? But the question is, was it really worth spending all 6 questions on it? Ed David did use one question to ask, and he actually asked a better question in some ways, but only one question. The other one was on care policy. So what are the potential payoffs for Badenoch pushing this issue when surely there are other things she could have asked about? Well, if the pressure results in Starmer having to withdraw Mandelson from the role, it becomes a useful line of attack for the Tories on Starmer's judgment. As The Guardian's Pippa Creer has pointed out, when Mandelson was appointed, an unnamed cabinet minister told her that he was high risk but high reward. There's always a risk with Mandelson because he can be a bit reckless. I mean, he was sacked twice from the Labour cabinet during their last spell in government, and in very short succession. But he also ended up coming back after serving his time because he's a very canny political operator. In fact, you could argue his skills are far more useful as an ambassador to a powerful government than in frontline politics anyway. His ability to charm people, speak their language, is basically the day-to-day job of a diplomat. And this is also why Badenoch will want to increase pressure on Starmer to sack Mandelson if she can. He has proven adept at working with Trump's administration, being instrumental in the trade talks specifically. And if she can help get rid of him, it opens up 2 opportunities. The first is to cast doubt on Starmer's judgment when there were criticisms of the appointment in the first place. The second is that it disrupts the diplomatic ties, quite delicate diplomatic ties, between Downing Street and the White House and increases the chances of a misunderstanding and a potential bust-up. Remember, Badenoch is not interested in the UK's interests. She will happily get the popcorn to watch a row blow up between the UK and US governments if it works to her political advantage. And if I were Starmer, I'd have gone on the attack a bit. After all, it wasn't actually clear exactly why Badenoch thought Mandelson should not be ambassador. When I say she asked the question 6 times, I don't mean she asked 6 questions about Peter Mandelson. I mean, she basically asked the same question 6 times. It's not like there's been new information regarding Mandelson-Epstein relationships, like nothing new has emerged. Perhaps Starmer should have asked the question, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to help answer the right honourable lady's question, but she's not being very clear. Could I ask if the leader of the opposition has any accusations of illegal or improper conduct on the part of the UK ambassador to the US? Or is she merely saying that absolutely anybody who has had any social or business dealings with Jeffrey Epstein, even if completely legal and above board, is somehow fundamentally unsuitable? After all, although no names would be mentioned, it would be difficult for her to say that this is the case without calling Donald Trump fundamentally unsuitable, as well as no end of other people who were involved with Epstein socially or even with business dealings. Badenoch did bring up Mandelson's business dealings with him.
The Daily Telegraph reports today that while Lord Mandelson was business secretary, he brokered a deal with Jeffrey Epstein while he was business secretary, and that this occurred after Epstein had been convicted of child sex offences. Given this new information, does the Prime Minister really think it is tenable for our ambassador to remain in post?
And sure, there will be people who might say, well, why was he willing to do business with someone convicted of crimes like this? But as long as the business itself wasn't illegal, no rules had been broken. Besides, it still comes back to Trump, doesn't it? He's been convicted of many terrible things. Is Badenoch saying that she would refuse to deal with him if she were Prime Minister? Obviously, Starmer wouldn't be able to ask that question. It'd be a diplomatic shit show to bring up the fact that Trump has been convicted of many serious crimes. But he could tee her up and then let journalists ask her the question later. Really should have made her say explicitly what she thought was the specific reason why Mandelson should not be ambassador. I mean, Ed David did ask one question on it, but he asked if Starmer had made sure, as in if he'd since asked Mandelson, are there any other disclosures required?
As the leader of the opposition said, Lord Mandelson has admitted to continuing his relationship long after Epstein was convicted, and that there are more embarrassing details we don't yet know. Mr. Speaker, people will be surprised by the Prime Minister giving Ambassador Mandelson such strong support today. So can he tell the House, has the Prime Minister asked the Ambassador what other compromising material the Trump administration might have on him as he leads Britain's negotiations with the White House?
That was a much better question. He wasn't saying, well, based on known information, Mandelson, has clearly done something wrong. No, he was simply asking, has Starmer checked there are no skeletons in the closet that might come out later on, right? Perfectly reasonable. So why did Badenoch think it was worth 6 questions when she didn't actually highlight any specific concerns other than association with Epstein that everyone in politics at the time had, from Noam Chomsky to Donald Trump? The vast majority of them will have had no involvement in his criminal activities. If he'd been that reckless, he'd have been caught much sooner. Now, there aren't really any UK politicians openly in the frame in the Epstein files themselves. In terms of notable Brits, there's basically Prince Andrew, who has had dealings with Nonce Island. Most of the people implicated are American. However, is Badenoch really sure that if the Epstein files were to be published, that Tory names wouldn't be in them? After all, money follows the path of least disclosure, and Tories are all about not disclosing financial affairs. Which party will actually have the biggest blushers if the Epstein files are published unredacted? Labour or the Conservatives? For example, there are some things known. It was known that Epstein's UK agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, attended 3 big fundraising dinners with the Conservatives in the noughties. Also, there's a redacted entry which shows an Epstein donation of $2 million to someone only listed as the Right Honourable Member for, with the place name missing. So all we know is he used a tax haven to give $2 million to a senior MP, because the Right Honourable refers to MPs who are or have held senior frontbench roles. Now, could be Labour or Conservative, of course. But what's the betting that the Tories are up there next in the files if they are released? And with mounting pressure in the US, for the release, who would be most in the frame in the UK? I'm 100% certain that senior figures from both Labour and the Conservatives will have had close social links with Epstein at least, but will any names be linked to criminal activity on the island? Maybe both parties are actually hoping the list never sees the light of day. In the meantime, what does Badenoch gain? I'm not sure it's a key issue for voters, so unless the pressure somehow mounts up, she will certainly gain nothing. Let's say it somehow catches the public imagination, and just as Labour are crawling their way back up the polls, Mandelson becomes a spanner in the works and has to be chopped. Would that be a win for Badenoch? Well, with her zero-sum game mindset, she will think it is. She'll think what's bad for Labour is good for her. But it would be depending, isn't it? That's based on very, very old political thinking. The old way of thinking no longer applies. These days, If Labour trip up, it's not necessarily the Conservatives who benefit. It can be Reform UK, not the Tories. Then she'll have spent effort helping Farage for free. Will it really have been worth it then? Especially when the most clippable part of the exchange today was Starmer's response after the sixth question.
Mr. Speaker, our Deputy Leader contest started this week and ends on the 25th of October. Their leadership contest has been going on for months and will continue for a very long time.
I guess the big unknown is how big a deal is either Mandelson or the Epstein situation for ordinary voters in the UK? Especially the sort of voters Badenoch is chasing, because they think the nonces are in hotels, not penthouses and private islands. Although, as I pointed out yesterday, they're actually mostly in anti-asylum rallies. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind-the-scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.